First off, we need to review and approve the minutes from last committee meeting dated July 26th, 2011.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Aguilar.
We have a motion to approve and seconded by Aguilar. Motion to approve by Councilor Rolfing, seconded by Councilor Aguilar to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried very well. We'll move on to our review of the audit report for First Transit Contract Compliance Report. Jeff Weber?
Yes, this is, we're going to follow some of the highlights here on page 2. We'll start. And for those of you that don't have copies, we do have them over on the table if you don't already have one. This is a contract compliance audit, so basically what we're trying to do is determine the compliance with the contractual terms of the agreement. And just to give you a little background, the City of Sioux Falls acquired the public transit system in 1979. So the city owns the buses, the buildings, and the equipment, but the day-to-day operations are contracted out to a transit management company. The city also pays the operating and the capital expenses not covered by other revenue sources. In this case, we have First Transit is the contractor with the city, and they have the responsibility to actively manage the transit system. Today we have with us Randy Hardman. Randy is the Assistant General Manager, and then Kevin Smith is representing the city. And we can just go right over to page 4, and we'll look at our first audit finding. And this particular finding deals with a current agreement that the city has with the Center for Active Generations. And what this agreement does is provide paratransit services to and from the center for $1 per ride. Generally, these rides are in ordinance at $2 per ride. So what we're recommending is that this agreement should be null and void because all transit fares may only be authorized and set by ordinance and not modified by agreement. Therefore, we're recommending that the center be charged the current authorized fares as set in ordinance, and that this happen no later than November 1st, 2011. As we go through these, Randy or Kevin, if you have any comments, any questions, we can certainly address those too as we're going through them. Let's look at our second finding on page 5. And this deals with the route fares and the paratransit fares. The paratransit fares have not changed in the city since 1997, and the route fares since 1995. And one of the major sources for transit as far as revenue is from the general fund. And the city's general fund contribution to the transit system was slightly over $1 million in 1995, and it has increased since that time to $4.6 million in 2011 as far as the approved budget amount. And then you can also look at the tables and the charts on page 7 and 8, and from that we'll see that the city's general fund contribution has increased dramatically, and while the fares have remained the same for 14 to 16 years. And what we'll also see is that percent of expenses recovered through passenger revenue has decreased from 14.6% in 2000 to 11.1% in 2010, and that the operating deficit has increased from 3.3 million in 2000 to 6.3 million in 2010. Therefore, we're recommending that the transit system conduct a formal analysis every 3 years to establish and update the fare criteria, and then make a recommendation to the council for the appropriate passenger fares. The transit folks are doing a route analysis to be completed according to their plans in July 1st, 2012, so we recommended that this analysis coincide with those same times also, and then be presented to the council no later than October 1st of 2012. And we'll look at another recommendation, number 3 on page 9. And this deals with some vending machines that are at the various Sioux area metro locations. These vending machines, this contract is between First Transit and Premier Vendings as far as the company providing the machines and the products. And our recommendation is that any vending machines, anything of this sort that's on public property using public utilities should be run through the appropriate city departments, and that way the legal issues can be addressed, the risk-related insurance requirements are met, and the state-mandated bid laws are followed. Currently, the proceeds that Sioux Area Metro or First Transit is receiving are going for such things as flowers or some type of employee-type expenses as that. And again, we're saying that the proceeds should be used to offset transit-related expenses, just as advertising or fair revenue is used. We also have 5 opportunities for improvement. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I think we should look at page 11, number 5, and this deals with Sioux Area Metro providing 40,000 free passes to 13 different social service agencies. These agencies then give these passes out to their clients. And what we're seeing happening is that there is no criteria for these passes. They've been 40,000 year after year. So what we're recommending is that the city initiate a formal agreement with each of the agencies and establish a criteria, some type of goals, some type of rules as far as the program, and then review these number of passes and the criteria on an annual basis. And I would certainly take any questions or comments at this time.
I have a question.
Yes.
On page 9, the fee from the vending machines that's being used right now to bolster morale of the non-city employees of Sioux Area Metro. And they say Sioux Area Metro will comply with however the city of Sioux Falls wants us to handle this. So what is the mechanism now for the city to respond? There's not a city response per se here. What's the mechanism that would follow this?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had a conversation with our purchasing director, Scott Rust, about this, and I think the plan is that we would put, maybe piggyback upon current agreements. We have agreements right now with our park department for machines that are at the pools or the community centers, and I think that'd be the plan, that we would work out something where we could add that location to that contract that we have with that vendor. In that case, when people go to the swimming pool or the community center and get pop or candy, the city gets a portion of the profit, and that's in a formal agreement. So I think we could do something similar like that with this situation. So.
And I think I probably should add too that even though they're currently getting a 10% gross sales commissions, we've seen up to a 30% commissions. So eventually, I think what internal audit would like to see is a citywide contract for all vending machines, and again, there addresses commissions, risk management. We've all seen machines that don't work, and I've seen people rocking these machines, and if something ever happened, you definitely want to be covered legally and insurance-wise, so that's probably one of the biggest concerns.
Any other questions for Rich or for Jeff? Randy or Kevin, any comments you guys want to add? Yes, Randy, come on up.
The only concern I have for the vendings, the money received from the vending machine is, like the audit states, the city of Sioux Falls, has all the vending machines in other places and stuff, but the one at the garage at Sioux Area Metro is basically just for employees only. We have vending machines, pop machines out towards the garage area where employees can purchase pop or water, soda. We have vending machines in the break room that's for employees only to purchase a sandwich or something for lunch or candy bar or something like that. And that money does go into a special employee fund. And we do use that money for buying flowers for funerals. We use it for having a cookout during the summertime employee appreciation dinner. We have 1 or 2 of those, one in the spring, one towards the fall. I've used it in the past to buy pins for the drivers for a number of years of safe driving. It all goes for that. We have our safety meetings on every month, and at the safety meetings we purchase snacks such as cookies or something like that, so they have something while we're there, because we run our meetings, 5 meetings over 5 days and go till 8 o'clock at night. On the latest meeting till 9 o'clock at night. People are getting tired and they want to go home and they haven't had supper, and it's just something to have a little snack before they go. So that's the only money that we have to apply towards that. And if that's taken away from us, then we don't have anything as far as rewarding the employees to build a morale up. We have nothing. I could recommend that, would like to recommend that the ones that are at the bus stop where it's open to the public, that can certainly go towards the city. But I think the ones that are at the garage for employees only, because the public has no access to them, if that money could go towards the employee fund just to be used for the employees only in order to reward them for the job well done. So that's all I have on that one.
Any thoughts to that?
Well, we have, Jeff, we have similar machines elsewhere in the city, such as when you were at Fleet, they're in the break room. So like Randy said, we have those machines that are primarily available to the public, and then we have machines that are mainly used by the employees. But as Jeff said, that there's an issue with all the machines in general as far as safety, insurance requirements. As to what you do with the proceeds, I think you could make that distinction between a machine that's at the bus stop or the swimming pool or the community center.
Certainly, there's probably other vending machines that the city has at some of their facilities that are only for the employees.
Yeah, for example, in this building, there's a pop machine on the lower level, and I think at City Hall we have machines. I think pretty much at every city building there's vending machines that the employees use. Yeah.
More so machines that are only available to the employees, not to the public.
Primarily, yes.
So I think if we have a model to follow, we should be able to follow that throughout. I did have a comment, if I could, on the idea of raising the rates on the bus routes. In the end, what we're going to do is approve or not approve to accept the audit report here. I can tell you that raising the fees will be a monstrous task for the council. It's certainly probably necessary, but there's a weighing out of services and appropriate fees, and the councilors will be challenged tremendously on that task. I think the analysis will give us the data we need to make a better decision, but I just kind of wanted to bring a heads up to the councilors to watch out for that one.
And Councilor, if I could just comment briefly,
Yes.
is that, again, the recommendation is more to address this on a regular basis as far as perhaps the need to examine whether or not it should be raised or if it can be raised, more so than a recommendation to actually raise it. So again, it's been since 1995 and 97. Obviously, the expenses have gone up. The revenue has remained constant. One concern has been that with the attitude in Washington, D.C. now is that perhaps more of the funds will go away, and so this may be more of a concern in the next couple of years, but to at least have a format where these are addressed and looked at every 3 years is our recommendation.
And we did, after consultation with management, we did change those due dates to coincide with when they were doing the route analysis. So,
Oh, very good. Jeff, yes.
It's actually Kevin.
Kevin?
but I have a brother, Jeff. So we're often confused for each other. Kevin Smith with the Office of Planning and Building Services. What I think we'll try and do is have the rate analysis coincide with the 2013 budget as well, so that if, and I'm just saying if, there would be a recommendation to increase revenue through increased fees, that it would be something that the council also considers as part of the budgets. And my experience with the utilities is that those were self-sufficient, that whatever expenses water had, they had to make up in water rates. It was not easy, but it was more simple because we knew there wasn't support through the general fund or through federal funds, whatever. The challenge I do see with this is placing a value on the service and looking at our key riders who, for the most part, can't afford any other method of transportation. So I understand we need to be sensitive to our customers, and I also understand the auditor's point of view that, hey, nobody's looked at this for years. We should at least review it. So having gone through it with utilities a number of times, I understand the concept of reviewing the rates to make sure they're adequate. The added wrinkle is that transit has not been, and I don't think it's the intent, is to make it self-sufficient financially. So somewhere in the middle is where we'll end up.
Oh, Councilor Rolfing.
Thank you. Jeff, is there a, can you give me a
Kevin.
Kevin.
See, Jeff is
Yeah,
Jeff's right next to you.
you're the better looking of the brothers, all right?
Assuming he's not watching, I'll say yes.
Okay. The cost on the study, any idea?
No, I think that's something that is probably above and beyond what we would expect First Transit to provide contractually. It will just negotiate it with them, but I don't know that that's going to cause us to do it or not do it. Councilor Rolfing will certainly let you know, but after having gone through a lot of these with a lot of different utilities, you can get very, very detail-oriented and make it very, you can make it very complicated, or we can have a goal in mind. And if it is simply to have a stable fund, I understand that. So we'll provide some sort of proposal back to either the audit committee or the council through the budget process. But that'll be our goal, is that anything we do is ready to go into the 2013 budget. And we'll find funding in the 2012 budget for the analysis.
Councilor Aguilar.
I think that it is important that we take a look at it, again, looking at that some of the federal funding could be eliminated, and I would hate to see us have to raise them dramatically all at once because of the lack of that funding. So I think that I think we're on the right track to just start the analysis at this point and see exactly where we're at.
It actually does bring up a good question. Where would this money come from?
We'd use it out of the transit operating funds.
Okay, and you're authorized and able and capable of spending it without asking or
We
getting
will acquire whatever approvals are necessary in advance of
Very
spending
good.
any money.
Nice answer. All right, thank you. Anything else on that audit? All right, thank you. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next one.
No,
Rich?
just need a motion to approve.
Oh, we do. Yes, we do.
Move approval, Rolfing.
Second, Aguilar.
We have a motion to approve by Councilor Rolfing, second by Councilor Aguilar. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, thank you.
Mr. Chair, point of clarification, you're approving it to accept the audit report and recommend it for presentation to the City Council. Am I right?
Yes. Thank you very much. All right, we'll move on to item 4. It's a review of the audit report, contract agreement monitoring report. So it's a review of a report
Yes, it's a report. It's not so much an audit. It's more of an information report. And this is the first that we've done. Last year, it became apparent that we need to have more attention to contracts and agreements for public facilities, such as the one you just received on the transit system. And so it was kind of the consensus of the committee that we would provide a report to the council. I think initially that the idea is that we do this about twice a year, so this is the first report. The next one would be sometime in the spring after we have the end of the year data. And the focus would be on the biggest of these agreements, those bullet points on page 1, the Washington Pavilion, the Zoo, the Arena Orpheum Theater contract, Convention Center, Transit, and the golf courses. And on page 2, you can see, I believe there's about 11 of facilities that are city-owned facilities that we have a management agreement or contract for a third party. We have some small ones there, such as the Falls Park Visitor Center at Falls Park, which is that is operated by the Convention Visitors Bureau, and we have that Minnehaha Ice and Rec Center. There's a contract with SFS Management Services, and likewise Great Bear Rec Park. But as far as the largest ones, we just gave some basic information there about who the vendor or management company is, the period of the contract, and I think you'll notice that we have several that are finishing up this year, December of this year, the Washington Pavilion, the Zoo, the golf course agreement, and so we have 3 that are coming up at the end of this year, either for to renegotiate or do an extension. And as we mentioned yesterday to the council when we presented a report on the Arena and Orpheum, the Convention Center and the Arena contracts expire December next year, and that was on purpose. The intent would be that at that time we would have one management company for those 2 facilities out there. And basically just trying to give you a little information about who the city liaison is, and have we received the reports that are due, what about insurance and that sort of thing. And if for the council members that were there yesterday, Mike Cooper from Director of Planning had presented you with a checklist. I have a copy there for the members that are not on the city council, but it's kind of a matrix there. That's kind of the start of what management is doing in response to some of our audit recommendations to increase their monitoring efforts. In the past, we have noted that the contract monitoring had been rather lax, and this was at least the first attempts to respond to these audit recommendations. So the example you have is from Mike Cooper. On one side is the global spectrum management of the arena, and the other side is the SMG contract to run the arena there. So, and the idea is that the administration is forming a team of various people to monitor these things that are required every quarter or every year, that we would have some sort of tracking system. And one mention that was made yesterday from Councilor Entenmann was that we need to include the insurance requirements on the checklist and make sure we get those covered, because those are important. But as I mentioned on page 1, the administration is making steps and progress toward increasing contract monitoring. We see that as a positive sign. And as far as the format of this report, as the needs of the council change, we can adjust the format and the information provided. We can adjust the frequency of the reports. So this is just kind of the first steps towards giving the council some information on these important contracts. So, are there any questions about that?
Questions for Rich? Rich, just to be clear, are you is the audit group going to be the one who does this?
Well, as far as that checklist, are you talking about that?
This one.
I'm doing that report. Yeah, we're just kind of doing that for now. But the administration has a team assembled, as I mentioned yesterday, from finance and various other departments to kind of coordinate their efforts towards monitoring these contracts. So does that answer your question, or?
I think so. What I like is I like a lot of the details that you have in your report.
Okay.
But what the Mike Cooper, I think, had presented to us.
He presented that checklist to you yesterday. Yes.
And was just that I could visually see that we haven't done third and fourth quarter yet, or something, just a better visual.
Yeah.
but I like the details here. I guess someday, sooner or later, they'll merge. The styles
I
will
would
merge.
see that could possibly happen, that we would merge and just have one report that would either be done by the compliance team or internal audit, and just, it's kind of what information that the council would desire.
Okay.
I think what you're seeing there is kind of an internal tool. This matrix is a tool for the administration to see that certain things have been turned in or certain things have been done.
Okay, very good. Any other thoughts about how this report could be improved, or Councilor Rolfing?
No, I like the format. I like this, as I said last night, I think this is great. This is going to be one of the things that we've been talking about, is a little more, not control, but a little more information that's going to come out and give and keep us informed. I'm a little concerned, though, about the Keene Park, Keene, Prairie Green, Elmwood. At the last RFP on that, of course, management took place in 1998.
Yeah, as far as we can tell. I looked back at our audit report that we did in 2008, and it's been a long, long time since we did an RFP, and I had asked our city liaison, our park and rec director, what the status of the agreement was, and he says, they're satisfied with the performance. He didn't know of any reason why they would not get an extension on the contract, which they're allowed to do another 4 years. But I always think it's a good idea to do an RFP. I don't think it's a bad idea. It's just a case of, I think when we did that audit in 2008, that question came up, and I think everybody was pretty happy with Dakota Golf Management, the golfers, and Park and Rec and the Park Board. And they didn't know if there was any management companies that would be interested in taking on Sioux Falls. There are not a lot of companies that do municipal golf courses, but I guess the question I would say is how do you know unless you ask? You can always do an RFP, and if you only have one company that responds, then you have your answer. You have your definite answer. So we're always in favor of RFPs, I guess.
Yeah,
That's our point of view. So.
Ann has something to.
Oh, yes.
Well, I was just going to ask, would it be worthwhile to embed in the whole seeking outside contractors, outsourcing, if you will, these services, to embed in that process a cyclical RFP process, so that no matter what's been outsourced, what's under outside contract, we know that X years there's going to be a review just by policy.
It probably would be, and I don't know if that would be a city council policy or if that would just be an executive order or how that would work, but I certainly see merit in that if you had just an SOP that every so often you do an RFP for these management contracts.
And please let it be known, I have nothing against the management company that's doing it now. Nothing whatsoever.
It's too late, Rex.
Yeah, oh, okay. Because that's not the case. I'm just look at that and say, like Ann said, the standing operating procedure would say you put that out for bid, you do an RFP on it at least every 5 years or 10 years.
Certainly, this will come up later in the agenda when we talk about the ideal agreement. Ourselves, as the audit committee, we had not done an RFP for audit services for probably 20 years. I think it had been a long time. So,
And
but we corrected that.
yeah.
I would add that I think Ann's comments are really right on. It's probably a council decision maybe, but I think through the audit process we do check these, and this is where they come up. But if we don't, or frankly, when the council accepts this report and doesn't act on it, then I guess we're relying on the audit committee to recommend it. So I think it's a great thing for us to bring up on the council as an item to discuss and how we want to manage it going forward. Not just with this one, but all the contracts. And I would add probably part of the problem is when the golf courses are generating revenue.
Yeah.
If we were losing money, there'd probably be a heavier eye put on it, but when they're making money, it's like...
I believe last year we received, I think, $271,000, I believe that was the revenue. So, yeah, we're getting money from the golf courses, and we're setting money aside in the Second Penny Fund now, this year, so that we can pay for these improvements to the golf courses, such as the clubhouse at Keene and other improvements to the golf courses. So basically, it's self-funded, yeah.
Okay, very good. Any other comments or thoughts on this report? All right, seeing none, we need a motion to accept the report, or recommend it be accepted to the council.
So moved, Oppegard.
Second Aguilar.
We have a motion by Member Appegard and Councilor Aguilar to accept and recommend approval to the council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good. We have it.
Mr. Chairman, do we need to proceed with some sort of recommendation to the council about moving for an RFP on that golf course situation or other kind of situations? It's me.
I'm sorry. Did I miss?
Well, wouldn't we do that after it had either been accepted by the council? We'd bring it out at that time?
Right, I think, yeah, it's going to be up to the councilors to pick up the ball.
But that would be a
Pick it up.
recommendation
We don't
that
need-
would
we
come
don't-
out of this.
You don't think it'd be appropriate for us to point that out to them?
Oh, yeah.
Or make a
yeah.
recommendation right now so that they, from this group, go, so that they know that it's coming?
Yeah,
I would think it would be appropriate for us to point that out to them so that they know we're doing our job.
So wouldn't that be when Rich makes his presentation to the council?
Yeah,
He would bring
Okay.
that forward?
I would point out there's a little time crunch because we only have about 3 months left in the year, and I'm sure that normally an extension would be executed soon. So, but
we'll certainly try to remember that, and maybe you can do the,
Can we direct Rich to point that out for us during his
us.
presentation and remind us? Thank you, Rich.
yes.
One final thought. The notion of a time crunch doesn't, I mean, I don't think that our recommendation to council is going to be that we have to immediately do an RFP on the golf courses, but rather a more broad policy that we need to establish an RFP
Okay.
rotation or schedule, however you want to put it.
Procedure, whatever.
Generic, instead of on the golf course
Yeah.
contract. But it's a great entree, you know, to point out that it hasn't been RFP'd since '98, and our recommendation is that the council visit that.
as a great function of the audit, right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
exactly what we have
Very
it here
good.
for.
All right, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to item 5 to get an update on the fraud policy. Rich?
Yes, I was directed to bring this up with the fiscal committee, so I told them that by November meeting, we would have something to discuss with the fiscal committee. So I've completed a first draft of a fraud policy, and I have sent that to the city attorney and the director of human resources, and then I've scheduled a meeting in early October with them to kind of review my first draft and get their feedback on that, and then we'll have further discussions, and then the plan would be to present something, at least for discussion, to the fiscal committee in November, and then eventually adopt this fraud policy, have that adopted by the council with a recommendation from fiscal. And it's what I have is I used a variety of sources. I used some real-life fraud policies from other cities. I looked at what the South Dakota Board of Regents had. I looked at what a model fraud policy is from the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. So a variety of sources addressing, detection, prevention, who's responsible for what. What happens when we get a call to the fraud hotline? How does that work? And when do the mayor and the council get notified? And I think it's fairly comprehensive, and I'd be eager to get the input from city attorney and HR and work something out and present that to fiscal committee at their November meeting. So that's where it's at.
Any questions or guidance for Rich on that task? I think it's a great tool for us to finally get down on paper. It's kind of funny how we can go for so long and not have something like that written, but good, Rich. All right, very good. We'll move on to item 6 then, discussion of input for the 2012 annual audit plan.
As you're probably aware, I normally present a draft audit plan to the audit committee, usually in November, and then that if that is approved by the audit committee, that it gets adopted by resolution of the city council, either late December or January. It kind of gives us the plan of projects for the coming year. In the past, I will send an email to city directors, send an email to the city council and the mayor, just asking if there would be something that they would want perhaps to see on the plan, or at least be considered. I already have some ideas. I've come up with a list based upon auditor judgment and risk assessments, and looking at things that we have not audited yet, or things that have been an issue that may be worthy of an audit. So I have kind of a preliminary plan, but what I'd like permission to do from the audit committee is just to send that email out in the next couple of days, one to the city council and one to the directors. And in the past, I've always gotten at least one suggestion from both groups about something they would like to see on the plan. And so unless you want me to change that way of doing things, I will proceed that way and then have something for you at the next audit committee meeting. So.
Any questions about that approach, or comments, feelings? Rich, explain again, counselors individually have a chance to ask for special audits throughout the year?
Yes,
If they feel-
we have a protocol in the audit committee for what we call special request audits, and actually anybody can use that mechanism, whether it's the mayor or a director or the city council. And we've always had probably at least one special request every year from various sources. So the procedure is they just, if it's not in the audit plan and they would like to see it done that year, they don't want it to wait, the procedure is to make a formal request of the audit committee, a written request, and I can help them with the format, and then we present it to the audit committee, and you either approve it or not approve it, or you say, we'll put that in the plan for next year. That's kind of your option. So that's the way it works.
All right, very good. Seeing nothing else there, we'll move on to item 7, an update on the selection of Ike Bailey for external auditor for fiscal year 2011.
Yeah,
through 2013.
as we mentioned before, it had been approximately 20 years since we did an RFP for external audit services, and we went through the process this summer, and we worked with the purchasing office with Scott Rust, and we had a committee lined up. Some of you were on that committee. We met on Friday, August 5th of this year, and we received proposals from Ike Bailey, which is our past auditor, and also from McGladrey, and the committee reviewed the RFPs, and we had questions. We had presentations and questions for the two auditing firms, and then we basically scored them. The committee did, and the consensus was to award it to Ike Bailey, and then that was worked out so that City Council did approval of that agreement. So for the next 3 years, Ike Bailey will be doing the external audit for the city of Sioux Falls, and I believe the fee for our next audit will be $54,000, which was a slight savings from our previous year. And so I think we're happy that we went through the process, and I think both firms are very well qualified. I think either firm would have done a very good job, but we gave the edge to Ike Bailey on that one. So.
Any further questions on that item? Very good. Seeing none, we'll move on to item 8, approval of some travel for Rich.
Yes, in order to meet my, certification requirements for a CPA, I have to have, as many of you are aware, 40 hours of continuing education every year. We have money in our budget for that sort of thing. The one is in Sioux City. It's put on by the South Dakota CPA Society, but it's actually in Sioux City. It'll be October 31st for 1 day. And the approximate cost was about $275, as you can see from the handout. And then the other one is one I've been to before. It's an Intergovernmental Audit Forum, and these are regional conferences. They're organized by a group of federal, state, and local auditors, present topics of common interest. And I picked the one in Kansas City because it's the easiest to get to. I can drive to that one, and I've been there before, and it was very useful. So I guess I'm asking permission from the committee to authorize those travel dates this year.
Move approval, Oppegaard.
Second, Aguilar.
We have a motion to approve the travel expense request by Rich Oaksall by Member Appegard and by Councilmember Aguilar. Any other questions on that item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Very good, Rich. Now we'll move on to open discussion.
I just had two items. The next audit committee meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 22nd. That's the Tuesday before Thanksgiving, 4 o'clock here at the Carnegie. And also, actually I had three items. And then the other one was the City of Rapid City their city council members are considering legislation to create a audit committee and create a lead auditor position. And I've assisted the council member that's kind of leading that and provided your information about what the City of Sioux Falls did and what our legislation looks like. And so I've been just sort of helping them out. It still hasn't been voted on, but I think there's apparently council support in Rapid City for that. So that was kind of fun to help another city that's doing that sort of thing. So, and then the third item was our Jeff Weber, our auditor, would be retiring as of October 21st. So we need to, I think, talk about filling that position.
And that is October 21st of this year, so just wanted to clarify that. Just in time for pheasant hunting season, so I'm going to walk the fields and the ditches and figure out what I want to do when I grow up, so I'm looking forward to that. But I do thank everyone for the opportunity and for putting up with me during this time. At times, I kind of make sense, and other times I'm a little strong-willed. And again, thank you, Rich. I appreciate it and the opportunity.
Yep.
And Greg?
Jeff's been with this city for 12 years, and the last 3 or so I've been with internal audit. So anyway, there's a process, obviously, for filling that position, and we're working with HR, and we'll, I guess, have to work out the details here about how we go about that. So.
Any comments or questions about those three items?
Will we be involved in the position description crafting or the requirements, those sorts of things?
Well, we do have a job description already in place, so unless the audit committee wanted to review that, I assume we just use the job description that currently exists. It was just we hired Jeff in February of 2008, so it wasn't that long ago that we went through the process. It's a little different than a typical civil service hire with the city because it is actually an appointed position. It's not civil service. In the past, the audit committee has designated me as the appointing authority, but the audit committee can decide to review the job description, or they may want to be the appointing authority. It's up to the discretion of the audit committee.
And would you like to have the audit committee more involved in the selection, or are you just kind of checking?
Well, kind of checking, but I'm also remembering that we met and did interviews with final candidates. Is that correct?
Well, you certainly...
Am I remembering that?
I remember I was interviewed by the whole committee.
Maybe that's what I'm remembering.
When I was hired back in 2006, it was about 5 years ago. It was actually October of 2006.
That's probably what was your position.
Yeah, and it was in the adjacent room there.
Yes.
And it was the full audit committee that went through the process.
Okay,
yeah.
I'm clear now. Thank you.
Okay.
And you've served since then?
Since origin.
Bless your heart.
Thank you. I loved it.
And the pay, same?
Wonderful.
Did you get no raises? Well, first off, on the November 22nd audit committee meeting, which reports will you be presenting then?
Well, we should have that 2012 annual audit plan, which is in a report, but it's a list of projects. And we'll probably likely have the fuel internal audits, or internal controls, fuel internal controls. We hope to have that done. And the other one that we hope to have done is our neighborhood redevelopment audit. I started that a couple of weeks ago. I'm hoping to have that done, but I think we'll have at least, the fuel should be done by then. So.
Rich, too, there'll be one other that I'm working on right now. It's the health-based clinic that's school-based health clinic at Terry Redland. There are two of them, one at Hawthorne and one at Terry Redland, and we just started that a couple weeks ago. Fairly limited scope on that, so we expect that I should be right at the end of that prior to my departing the city, and should have at least a draft to Rich at that time.
So if things go as expected, we could have 2 to 3 audit reports and the 2012 annual audit plan. So that's our goal.
Okay, very good. And then the Rapid City, helping those guys out. That's exciting. I think it's interesting that you're involved and that maybe you'll even pick up something from them on what they're trying to accomplish that maybe we could incorporate ourselves.
Yes, yeah.
We haven't even thought of.
They had sent me a copy of their legislation, their draft ordinance, and I looked at it and said, maybe you want to consider this or that. But it seemed like it was very comprehensive. It seemed like they'd done a good job on that. But yeah, you're right. I think we can learn from each other.
I would also suggest that you give us an update next meeting on the progress of replacing Jeff.
Okay.
Right, and that is the final item there, I suppose, is Jeff Weber. I've gotten to know Jeff over the years. What a great straight shooter you've been, and I sure appreciate working with you. I hope there's an opportunity to work further with you. And I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but I guess I'll follow the wishes of Jeff and not go any further. But if there's a way to get Jeff maybe involved in the selection of this new person sooner than later, if there's any time, I don't know if that's proper or not, but I'd sure like to see Jeff's experience and leadership carried forward.
And I don't think it's a great secret that the leadership has also approached me about just working part-time and helping to get perhaps doing some of the legwork and getting through this special election coming up. So unlike Richard Nixon, you will have me to kick around a little longer past the 21st of October. So again, I'm looking forward to that, and thank you again for the opportunity.
You're welcome back anytime.
Yes. Thank you, Jeff. Rich, any other things?
I don't have anything unless somebody has
Anybody else?
something else that we need to talk about.
Jason, just wanted to hear your voice once. Maybe you're good?
I don't have any further concerns.
All right, thanks. All right, seeing none, then I'll take a motion to adjourn. Anybody? Jason?
So moved. Forbes.
Second, Rolfing.
We have a motion to adjourn by Member Forbes and seconded by Councilmember Rolfing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you.